asked to prophesy. It was one of the prophets, and he said, bring me a harpist and play. And as that harpist played, then he began to prophesy. And that was because he knew that God had spoken to him at times, that music had the power of God to work through it. It was one of the ways that God spoke. So he said, bring me the harpist. And then as that music was playing, then God spoke to him and he prophesied. So again, God will speak to you in a particular way. Look for those ways. And then, as I said here, ask God specific questions. If we're only asking general questions like, Lord, make me holy. Okay? That's great to ask. But how are you going to know when he's answered? Right? Because we're never going to be all the way holy. Right? And it's good to ask. I'm not saying don't ask. But it's hard for us to know sometimes, okay, this change was specifically in relation to that answer or that question, So when we ask specific questions of God, then it's easier for us to know when he answers. And then that does several things for us. One, it builds our faith. Two, it gives us clear direction on what to do. Three, it helps us to see how does God speak to us. And four, it gives us an opportunity to thank him for his answers. Okay? So then the next point here is don't only talk to God. Sometimes we're only praying and asking. God, please do this. Help me with my test. I need this. Help me, help me, help me. And it's okay to ask, but we need to spend time also listening. I could talk more about prayer. There's other aspects of prayer. There's thanksgiving, there's praise, there's, all of these steps that you can go through. It's okay to ask, but there's also a time to listen. So that's why the format, if you will, that I've found to be helpful for me is to have a time where I'm crying out to God and just praying and seeking him about specific questions and even writing them down. Lord, I need to know an answer for this. I write it down and I'm praying and I'm praying. And then I just stop and I listen. Okay, Lord, please speak. And I just listen. And I found many times that God has spoken to me very specifically when I've done that. Answered those questions. Okay? So that's just a pattern. No, but that's not the only way he speaks. And then the last item that I have here is extremely important. And that is that it's essential that when God does speak to us, that we absolutely value his word highly. And so that means that when he speaks, that we obey what he has told us to do. If he's given us an instruction, make sure you obey and do it completely and exactly what he said to do. Because a lot of times, God's not going to speak to you anymore if he's given you instruction and you haven't done that yet. So you're wanting him to speak to you, but hey, I've already told you what to do. When are you going to do it? So that's another reason why it's good to write down that list. When has God spoken to me? And make sure then that I've done everything that he's told me. And then, not only make sure that we do it, that we obey if there's some instruction there, but also that we thank Him for speaking. And even if it's a no, we sing that song. There's two songs that come to mind with that. One is I'll Praise You in the Storm. You're the God who gives and takes away. And it's also that other song, the Job song, blessed, be your name. You give and you take away. There's times that God says no. And we need to be able to thank Him for a no just as much as a yes. Because a no, many times, He's protecting us from going down a path that would cause problems